If you are familiar with contracts, you know that they normally state that everything that has to do with the contract is stated in the contract. So there's not some other thing out there that's not in the contract, which is part of the contract. Now the Constitution would be the same way. We have the term of the three branches of equal powers and checks and balances. Well, those terms are not used in the Constitution. They have been used outside of the Constitution. Now, from my reading of the Constitution, and you should read it, Google it, and read it, the Congress seems to have more power. See, the Congress can elect a president if there's a tie in the vote, or they can elect a vice president, or they can remove, they have impeachment powers. The Congress, they also, in the judge system, the judicial, the Article 3, Supreme Court is set up in Article 3, but what they refer to as the inferior courts, which, all the federal judges, that is at the discretion of Congress. See, they don't emanate from the judicial branch. They emanate from Congress. Also, when you read Article 3, you find that the Supreme Court, it says that the Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction, which means they can hear cases up the line. If they heard the case at the lower court, they are the final deciding. But at the end it says, well, with exceptions that Congress may make, exceptions and regulation. So Congress has a hand in that. Seems like Congress has a little bit to do with everything. So I'm not so sure it was set up that they're equal, co-equal. Now, what about checks and balances? Well, who's the check on the Supreme Court? How laws are made. This is how they're made. You have the House, you have the Senate. They pass it, goes to the president. President signs it. If he don't sign it, he sends it back. House and Senate, if they get 2/3, it's a law. Okay, you got a check and balance right there. Now, what about the Supreme Court? Well, they say something, and where's the checks and balances? That don't make sense. There is no checks and balances. Now, from reading of the Constitution, I don't see where it is explicitly said that the Supreme Court has the authority to overturn a law of Congress. Don't see it. And in fact, if you think that's a strange idea, in fact, the Supreme Court in 1803 had a ruling on the case where they stood on a chair or on a table and declared that they do have that power. Now, see, that's interesting. See, you can't have a private interpretation of something. You've got this group, a total of 9, only needs 5, and to pass something. Now, what they decide, now I don't know what went on in 1803, but obviously there was a question, just what I just said, that it's not explicitly said in the Constitution that the Supreme Court has that kind of power. They just have they have the judicial power. But it doesn't say they have the power to overturn a law. Now think about that a minute. It's not mentioned, it's mentioned nowhere in the law-making process. It doesn't mention a review. It doesn't mention that a law will go through the House and the Senate and pass, go to the President, and then after judicial review, it will go into effect. It doesn't say that. I frankly don't think it was intended that they could overturn a law. They could advise and let it go back to the House and Senate and the President and say, well, let's reconsider this thing. But that is the people's house. The representative, well, frankly, it is generally referred to as the people's house, the representative. But the Senate, it's all of the election. The electorate have put them in their place. But we have time now, whereas the courts seem to take unusual power. They can, even a constitutional right, when everybody knows that you have as president or as Congress, then the courts get involved in and people you should ignore them. They're ignoring the Constitution. Where's the checks and balance? It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever that a court has the final say on anything when there's so few. And you got the whole representatives, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, and the President, and they say, well, okay. All they can do then is check themselves. That's what the courts are ultimately said. Well, you can check yourself, but you can't do anything about us. That makes no sense. The lower courts or the inferior courts are at the discretion and ordained by Congress, and they can be removed by Congress. Just something to think about when you think about all these rulings they make. A lot of these courts should be dissolved. The Ninth Circuit should be dissolved. They have had so many overturned cases, it is laughable because they don't follow the Constitution. I mean, it really is a mess in our court system.